These half and halves were all over the school. And so now thinking about it, of these fucking teachers just being like, yeah, these kids, they're not drawing dicks on the board anymore. They're drawing a dick coming out.
There's all these PTA meetings. God damn it, these half and halves need to stop.
Welcome back to Show Me Yours with Jackie and Jonny, everybody.
I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Jonny DeVito.
And I'm Ty Boisano.
You goddamn right.
Ooh, who's that?
Let's
yeah.
be.
Ty.
Hey, man. Jackie, baby. Give them the business.
Well, we got you here. Why don't you hit that old subscribe button? And hey, while you're at it, what about that like button? Leave a snazzy comment.
Sure.
This is snazzy.
I was doing the like, and it just went.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and leave a 5-star review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And share with your friends. Share on your Instagram story. Tell your neighbor. Tell your cashier at your local grocery store.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They give you change, and in exchange, you give them, something better in their life.
You make a change.
In their life. Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, and our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's full circle, right? You know what I mean?
That's
and
what
what
it's
we're
all
trying
about
to do,
here.
I think, is build a community here. You know what I mean? Let's be a community about it, right? Grab your neighbor, touch them on the butt, tell them what a podcast.
Yeah, flashers.
Absolutely.
Named them flashers a while ago. Just remembered it now.
Yeah, we had a good run for that for a little while.
Yeah, it lasted like 2 weeks.
It's hard to say, because you're trying to like name your legion. You know what I mean? Of people,
I
right?
think flashers is good.
Flashers is pretty good, yeah.
Right?
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Flashers.
Yeah.
Flash your neighbor. Flash your dad. Flash your cousin.
Well,
Went with the double family flash there. Okay. Yeah.
So we're going back to Jackie's family's house next week.
This reunion is going to be wild.
I'm looking forward to the whole thing.
But before we get into the album today, we got a fun story to discuss here.
What's going on in the world, babe?
Well, penis graffiti.
I'm a big fan of graffiti, but penis is by far my favorite kind.
An explicit insult carved into ancient stone, quote, raises eyebrows at Roman fort.
Right. Off the top, I can't dig because I'm like, who raises an eyebrow at a Roman fort having dicks on the wall? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I'd be raising an eyebrow if there wasn't a bunch of dicks all over that wall.
Like, I think that's the thing that you always hear about science cover-ups or whatever, right? Like with Egyptologists is very prominent for this. That there's a lot of different theories and things that kind of test the status quo that the scientific community won't necessarily give credit to, right? So how much hieroglyphic dicks have been covered up over time.
Yeah, well, I think it's because when you're in that field, you're so academic, and so you're not thinking a whole lot about dicks here and there, of course, in your off time, but not when you're on the job with the brushy brush.
Right. Getting after them tombs.
Yeah. And so if you're so
I'm not opposed to
focused
getting a
on
brush, company tools.
you're so focused on the academics, and we're unearthing a tomb, and then you pull
it's
out
too hot to fuck here.
Yeah. You just pull out a fucking a stone dick. I mean, it's
awesome.
It would maybe raise an eyebrow.
You've raised all this money, you've gone, you know what I mean? It's just this
You're
huge excursion.
I
think there's gonna be this King Tut's.
I found something, Marcus. I found something. Get over here quick. Bring your brush.
Oh,
and then
never mind. It's just a penis.
I'm gonna laugh. There's one bro-y archaeologist or you know what I mean? There's one guy there, and everybody's kind of of course he'd find the dick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
just high-fiving, guys.
So
This hard.
Can't take this guy anywhere.
So archaeologists in the UK recently had their quote eyebrows raised. They're really
into the
insisting.
eyebrows. Yeah, double down on the eyebrows.
Both eyebrows now.
When they discovered an X-rated carving on a stone at a Roman fort. The graffiti features a crude penis accompanied.
Little body shaming here.
Yeah, right.
Which is kind of
Throw
crazy,
it.
right? Like we don't know what
Yeah.
dicks looked like in 300 AD.
It doesn't mean crude. It's as in like that's crude, or it's like a crude. You know what's the other meaning of crude? When it's like, oh, that's a crude
like poorly
rendition.
done. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
funny because the letters carved into that stone are perfect. You know what I mean? They're like same size. You know what I mean? They go straight across the line. You know what I mean? It's not like they don't have
They had a
lined
stencil
paper.
for that.
Absolutely right. But this guy was just like, wait a minute. What's this thing missing? He just
To put my old John Hancock on.
Yeah.
it's foot penis now.
It's the penis was accompanied by a phrase that experts say translate to quote the shitter next to someone's name. It seems to have been etched out by a Roman soldier to insult a comrade.
How many times have you wrote something
Shitter.
shitty about your friend in like a bathroom stall in high school? I'm a
Yeah.
construction guy, so like I mean that's still very prevalent in the
Yeah.
blue rooms on the construction site. I've drawn so many dicks on so many walls that it's remarkable.
Oh man, so in middle school, everyone did like the dicks on the binders.
Of course.
Me and my friends, we became obsessed with the concept and image of a half and half, and so the way we would draw it would be like lip, ball, dick, ball, lip. And so instead of drawing dicks everywhere,
You drew like a dick coming out of a pussy? That's
Call them
awesome.
half and half.
That's cool.
Except it was more like a full and full. Like it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
So we
Hermaphroditic.
Like when the
Very
like
progressive group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Progressive group.
I wish like I'm not a very like artistic fella. I mean,
Oh my
I can
God.
draw a good like a decent dick, but like,
I will
vaginas
find
are tough.
I will find any of my stuff from that I still have from middle school, like yearbooks and shit. I guarantee you those pages
Okay,
are
we need to find
filled.
those.
I will.
and
I
put
have
those
them.
up.
They're at the
Okay,
house.
okay,
They're
yeah.
at the house
Okay,
at
I'm
our
very
place.
excited.
They're
I
under
can't
the
wait to see this
stairs.
half and half.
I will. I guarantee you, I will find you a half and half. There was, oh
I was
my
just thinking
God.
about the French kids being like, "You're drawing half and half."
we would do it like on the board when the teacher's back was turned and
Oh, yeah.
shit. And so it was these half and halves were all over the school. And so now I'm thinking about it of these fucking teachers just being like, yeah, these kids, they're not drawing dicks on the board anymore. They're drawing a dick coming
Yeah,
out
there's
of
all these PTA meetings. God damn it, these half and halves need to stop.
So imagine being
One of them did it on my garage.
40-year-old man, like a 40-year-old man writing a math equation on the board and turning around and be like, Jesus.
Yeah. They burned it into the football field.
Oh my God. So we painted the school with half and halves.
I think that as like
Took
evolved.
over our lives, like really. I remember there was one time in French class, I drew like a crude drawing of someone wearing a very tight unitard who possessed one of these of our
Half and half,
interpretations
yeah,
of a
no,
half
okay,
and half.
okay.
And so you could just see it like kind of coming out of the unitard, and we were laughing so hard over it, and our French teacher was like, what are you laughing at? And
He said, "Draw."
yeah. And I ripped it out of my binder, and he proceeded to chase me around the classroom until I like put it in my mouth. And I was like, you can't see this.
VC Jackie. Give me that half and half. VC Jackie.
I remember it was getting like somehow like it got out of my hands and it was getting like passed around to different people,
Dude,
and it was like in a
hilarious.
movie you would get it.
That's the
people
tightest move,
get
dude. That's
it
to
to
crumple
me.
it.
Yeah, they would get it, like open it and be like, oh, and then like pass it to the next person. I was like running around and the teacher was running after me, and then I finally got it. He was like, hand it over, and I was like, oh God, oh God.
Wow.
Anyway,
I was excited. You know what I mean? I didn't see
I wasn't expecting to tell that story
No,
on
I
the
don't-
podcast. I actually haven't told that to anyone in my adult life. That's just something that we've stayed. Been kept on the down low.
I mean, I didn't
It's
peg
cool.
you
It's
for-
cool. It
for
won't
one
turn
of the
into a
dick
clip or
drawers.
anything.
But I didn't peg you as such like a passionate dick drawer. I mean, definitely I had some ideas. Maybe Ty as a young boy, right? But everybody is so goddamn into it. But like my buddy Shelby went to animation school at VFS, and they're doing classical animation. So he's in a classroom of like 30 people, and he goes up to the whiteboard and he just writes Cocktober on like so for the whole month of October, they all just drew dicks on this thing.
Professional dick drawers.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, of course it was.
And
Yeah.
some of them were fucking fantastic.
Well, that's the thing. Like that book
right?
they made from Superbad. That's just all
Oh,
it's
for
it's
sure.
it's brilliant.
So good.
Yeah, it's next level. The same dude actually spray painted a very realistic purple and pink penis on like underneath the bridge, and it looks so goddamn like realistic and perfect, but like cartoony at the same time. It's gorgeous. And then he went to the same spot months later and painted just my face on the wall. So like there's I'll put a picture up. There's a it's on my Instagram. So there's a picture of my face like cartoon spray painted underneath this bridge in Vernon, and if you look like underneath my chin, there's just like an old cock coming out that was just like under, you know what I mean, just like layers of graffiti or whatever, but the head of the penis is still like underneath my chin, which is hilarious.
I can't wait till archaeologists find that later.
Yeah, right.
When they unearth this thing, they're gonna be like, who's this
Who
guy?
is this DeVito?
Yeah. So back to the story.
Yeah.
This-
Sophocles the shitter or whatever.
The stone, which is 16 inches wide and 6 inches tall. Nice. Was
Yeah. That's right, babe. That is enough.
16,
Sufficient.
16
Also
inches
known
wide.
as the Roman 12.
It was
Johnny
uncovered.
Baker's dozen DeVito.
It was uncovered May 19th, so this is a recent
Yeah, it's a new
unearthing
dick.
at Vindolanda, the ruins of a Roman fort just south of Hadrian's Wall.
Which is basically like in England, which is kind of cool too. Like the sun never sets on the Roman Empire. So to think
Where?
in 300 AD, you had like this expansive empire that went
Yeah.
to like you know what I mean, to like
It's
the British
crazy
Isles.
how huge
and
it
then
was, yeah.
That wall that they're talking about was basically fending off like Northern English and Scottish people, which is like that wall should probably still be there.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean? They're
it's,
just-
yeah. Sure.
Silly people. You ever listen to a Welsh guy speak?
Oh yeah, it's terrible. It's very guttural.
Yeah, they have a rugby
Sean Connery.
team. There's a
Yeah.
name of a rugby team that I
Yeah.
think has like the entire alphabet. It's like
Also,
26 letters long.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, God damn it, who sings? Who? How come I can't think of this? Not Tom
Fucking
Waits.
Gallagher's?
Not Tom Waits. The like Showtime, the Tunes guy, Tom Jones. God damn it.
Oh, Tom Jones.
Yeah, he also Welsh.
the tunes guy.
yeah, the Show Tunes guy.
Isn't he
Yeah.
like very American? I thought Tom Jones. You know what I mean?
No.
Oh,
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the archaeologists think the graffiti was carved into the stone sometime during the 3rd century AD. Volunteer archaeologist Dylan Herbert, a retired biochemist from Wales, unearthed the stone during his second week at the excavation site. Herbert had wanted to remove the stone, which he kept tripping over while excavating for several days before he was given
this guy's
the
been tripping over this cock. for
right?
weeks.
Somebody move this fucking cock out of the way. I've been tripping over this stick. But here for only 2 weeks. I'll trip over this stick.
I wonder what like the sense of urgency is at an archaeological site, right? If like
Yeah.
the one thing that's in the way,
Right, yeah.
is like we have to talk
That's-
about it. Like, hey, like let's let's do this one first or whatever.
Yeah,
That's so
let's
silly.
move this fucking stone that's in my way. So he said from the back it looked like all the others, a very ordinary stone. But when I turned it over, I was startled to see some clear letters. I don't know what this accent is. Herbert said in a statement, only after we removed the mud did I realize the full extent of what I'd uncovered, and I was absolutely delighted.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Like, I bet in the world of archaeological discoveries and stuff, I bet, like, if especially like in a volunteer sense, right? You're a retired biochemist. You want to get out there and just have some fun. This guy's probably expecting to like make some pretty like minute discoveries, maybe broken pottery or you know what I mean, like shit like that.
Volunteer archaeologist.
Right?
Yeah,
dude. And he makes the funniest discovery of all time. You know what I mean? Like in the world of archaeological discoveries, is there something like I think that's true? The Venus statues that we
How
put
many
over.
dicks have you
Those
found?
Are funny.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, unless they're
I found
like
a dick in 2 weeks.
the fat chick like little fat chick statues, like those ones. That's
The
also
Venus.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Venus statues are really cool. Ancient dildos, very funny.
Mm-hmm.
But this one here, I think that they're thinking about it maybe too one-sided, right? Because definitely you could call your friend the shitter, right? So if I just wrote Ty the shitter and then put a dick on it, pretty funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what is the likelihood of this also being like, like a Ty was here situation? Right, because like if I would call myself like Jonny the shitter DeVito and write and then carve a cock into a thing, that's some shit that I would do. This might have been me in my past life. Maybe.
Yeah, it
Like-
could
like
be.
doing
Well,
it.
they are calling it graffiti, so which implies that it might be kind of autobiographical. Rather than him just like slandering someone else, it could just be him standing tall.
100%. I think there's a lot of
He's
different
like
ways
hiding
to do it.
out from a wolf or some shit. He's just like,
Yeah.
I gotta just hide in this cave for a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he just fucking killed one and he's like, I am the fucking shit,
I'm
right?
the
And
shit.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna
like,
show him
so
how
maybe
big my
through-
dick is from killing this wolf.
Yeah, fucking 16
More liquid
inches.
story.
Yeah,
More,
yeah.
now we're getting to it.
Listen, I'm no biologist.
He asked the real questions here.
Yeah. The standout feature of the stone is the girthy graffiti. I mean, props to this author. We've had
Girthy
some,
graffiti is
right?
delicious.
Yeah,
Right?
right?
Worded, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for alliteration.
He's,
It's
uh,
fantastic.
of course.
He's having fun with this article for sure. But researchers were more interested in the writing that accompanied it. Experts recognize this phrase as an abbreviation, which translates to Secundinus the shitter, according to the
But
statement.
it's like cacadas or whatever, right?
Yeah.
like caca being
Yeah.
the fucking the root word for
It's
shit.
Whoever did this-
Secundinus cacor was the phrase.
My
Yeah.
nono is an old Italian man, and he said caca too, which is funny. And like
Yeah.
I don't know if like how long that's just been in our blood for, but I love it. I think it's fucking hilarious.
Whoever did do this on the wall,
Yeah.
we could both all agree that it's fucking hilarious, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is dicks are never not funny.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
never not
yeah,
funny.
Yeah,
This is really
I mean-
good
And
stuff.
this is actually from a comedic standpoint. This is kind of shows how like dicks have been funny since the dawn of time. You know,
They call
and remain
prostitution
to
like the
this
first
day. Yeah.
the first profession, right? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? There's so many things that are so concrete, like all the way through time.
The first one.
The first profession or whatever they said was prostitution.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So like, and like farts are always going to be. You know what I mean? Like these. Like so I'm
I
saying.
thought you were gonna say
no, I'm saying that
it's actually
humans are
drawing
so,
dicks.
No. I'm saying that we're such pieces of shit. Like at the end of the thing, like no matter how much we've accomplished, say like you know what I mean. So at the Roman time, they built the Colosseums and all that stuff. So like no matter how great humans can like how many great things humans can accomplish. Farts and dicks and like all of that, like we're still at the very base disgusting people, and like it's I think like in order to stay grounded, you know what I mean, right? Like you need to sometimes climb to the mountaintop and like you know and scream obscenities, right? Or write a giant penis on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, and write your friend's name next to it or whatever, right? Put for fun, and then put Ty's number because like that's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious. And that shit has been going on for
Yeah, and
thousands
so
of years.
you know, dick jokes are kind of looked down upon, but really, we're keeping in touch with our historical ancestry, comedic ancestry.
Babe, would you
know?
say that this is comedy in its truest form?
Yeah, I would say that this is, I mean, and it's universal, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no, like, dick language is everyone's language. Everyone, recognizes, you see a Roman soldier who's carved a dick into a wall that's been covered up for centuries, and you pull it out and you're still like,
Totally. Right?
Deliciously delighted.
Totally.
yeah, deliciously delighted.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's African fertility statues where it's just like a fucking statue with like a 5-foot dick coming out of it. Hilarious. The funniest
Yeah.
statue ever. Going to maybe like back to like Roman times or whatever, statue of David. Tiny penis.
Hilarious.
Right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Right? It's-
Yeah.
They're all funny.
Yeah. So the recovery of an inscription, a direct message from the past, is always a great event on a Roman excavation site. Andrew Burley, director of excavations, said in the statement. But this one really raised our eyebrows.
Back to the eyebrow raisers. Right? Yeah. Okay.
This is 3 now.
Rule of thirds?
Yeah.
Do you think because in what sense are you raising your eyebrows at the thing? Like, am I going
Yeah,
to take this thing
right.
home? You know what I mean? Like an eyebrow.
I think
raise
it's like-
is in surprise. I guess. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's or it's or
Do you think there's like
I thought it was like
pornography? Is there like
yeah, or
in the sense of like if people have been drawing dicks on the walls, and you can assume that they've probably been like everybody's been tugging since the beginning of time. Do you think that there was like pornographic
Hieroglyphics?
hieroglyphics
For sure.
You think? Like,
Oh,
you think
yeah.
somebody's cranking down to
Yeah. For sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm into that.
So phallus carvings were not uncommon in the Roman Empire. This new carving is the 13th phallus uncovered at this site.
Lucky. Number
Yeah.
13.
13 dicks at the
Jesus.
same site?
And only a quarter of the site has been fully excavated. So that implies
Wait, that's
right. I know. I'm like,
lot of
what's
dicks.
13 times 4? Yeah.
Those are my fucking ancestors, and they're hilarious.
That's a
Shout
lot
out
of
to the
dicks.
people of Rome.
That's so funny. They've only excavated a quarter of this one site, and they've uncovered 13 dick
Do you know, is there's like, maybe I really hope that one of them is just like way too stuck up, right? And just up his own ass. And there's one guy that just like isn't finding this funny.
Yeah,
And,
it's like
he's put
another
up-
dick.
He's put up all this money and shit, and every day he shows up and like everybody's just still laughing. Found another one. 13 dicks, and not even a quarter of the site is excavated.
Hey, Henry, we got something over here.
He's like, if I find one more dick, I'm packing this fucking thing up.
No,
We're
no,
going
I
to a
swear.
different
No, it's
site."
cool. It's a bull. We discovered a bull. Really? Yeah, I swear. Like, come on, Henry. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Fool me
And
once.
look, it's a dick. It's a dick.
Ah, fool me 13 times.
Jesus Christ. This is fucking the 13th time you've done this to me.
man. We just got started here.
I would love it if he's just like, no, these people didn't, you know what I mean? They were more sophisticated, or this is like a class of, like a Roman soldier would never, disgrace the honor of his battalion by fucking, writing this shit on the wall. Oh my God, they're everywhere.
In June 2021, a carving of a naked horseman and his exposed member was also uncovered at this site. Phalluses were normally carved as a symbol of good luck or fertility, according to the statement. However, the recently discovered graffiti is clearly meant as an insult, which surprised researchers. The depth of the lines carved into the rock suggests that the artist spent a lot of time working away at the stone,
Dedicated craft.
which highlights how passionately they despise Secundinus, according to the statement.
That's hilarious.
Fuck that, man. I think Secundinus is the dude. Like, that's the guy. Secundinus is the fucking artist, I feel like. And, like, how much time are you going to spend on a battlefield or, like, wherever this place was? Or maybe, you know what I mean? Some kind of, like, this is, do you know?
He's running for the field. Oh, die out here.
Yeah.
You gotta come on. Yeah, in a minute.
He's using a
I'm
fucking
almost
stone
done
and
with the
chisel.
sea.
You know what I mean? And like giving up your location, like there's one thing too to be said about like warfare and stuff like that. I don't think you want to be fucking hammering chisels shit into the thing, kind of giving up that,
Secundinus.
Secundinus
I
is
really
the fucking man.
can't. It's either, I don't know which is funnier though, the fact that it's Secundinus doing it like he's this passionate about leaving his dick there, or if it's someone who's just like really has it out for Secundinus. He's like, this motherfucker.
You fucked my wife.
Yeah.
I think what he meant to write was cunnilingus.
Yeah.
This guy's the first guy into ass eating.
Yeah.
It's all coming
All
together.
the things he needs into.
That would be funny if like people have been carving buttholes on walls, but like archaeologists can't like recognize it because it just looks like an
A
imperfection.
lot of suns.
You know, yeah, exactly.
Stars, yeah. It's just like in the hieroglyphics, they're like, those stars were very important. They looked at the sky a lot. Yeah.
It's all assholes.
Dude, yeah, man. They fucking like, nobody knows how they track. They how do they know all the planets and all that stuff? And it's like they didn't.
Yeah.
Those were just a
That's
bunch
not
of
just
Orion's
buttholes.
belt. That's just the night that Orion got his brown belt.
They're just booty holes, man.
Orion loved that shit.
So placing the stone somewhere visible at the fort would have been the most effective ways to shame someone at the time. The new carving is the Roman.
Still is.
Yeah,
no
right.
shit.
Yeah.
100%.
The new carving is the Roman equivalent of badmouthing someone on social media today. The researchers wrote in the statement, its author clearly had a big problem with Secundinus and was confident enough to announce their thoughts publicly. I have no doubt that Secundinus would have been less than amused to see this when he was wandering around the site over 1700 years ago.
Wow.
I have really distinct handwriting, and to the point that and I'd like write all over the place and shit. So my brother and my brother's friends when I was a kid knew my handwriting or whatever. So if you came over to my house, you'd fucking see it everywhere. And my brother's friend JJ, free JJ, is currently incarcerated. I wrote fuck JJ Schubert, or I something in the tunnel, which is this little place and trail. And I was like, I don't know why I was mad at him or whatever, but I was like, fuck this guy. So I wrote it about there. Didn't draw a dick on the wall. That would have been very cool for the story. But they knew that it was me. So when I came back to the house, he kicked the shit out of me. Because he's like, what the fuck is that, man? You're just talking shit in the tunnel? I know it's your writing. And I misspelled his name.
The ultimate diss.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I think my favorite part of the story is his name, Secundinus.
Secundinus.
Why did that get phased out?
Why have we succumbed to this, Secundinus? I think
Why couldn't his name just been Bob? That's a long one to spell out too. Especially if you're
Secundinus.
chiseling.
Roman names are just too cool for that. If there's just one guy named Jeff,
It's a lot
how
easier.
did names get simplified to the extent that it's just like Bob or Jeff now? Like they used to be.
Well, yeah, even Robert. They couldn't even handle Robert.
Right?
It's Bob.
Yeah,
That
it's
doesn't
Bob.
even listen.
Yeah.
It's
the
Bob.
dumbing
It's
down
Bob.
the
Like
generations.
Richard is like
Yeah.
Dick.
Yeah.
No, it's Dick. How do you get Dick from Richard?
Yeah.
They want us stupid. They want us stupid. That's the way. Nobody's
Yeah.
ever going to give you an education enough to overthrow them.
Yeah. Even like all of we all go by names that aren't our actual names. Like you're like Tyler and like Jacqueline and Jonathan. We're all like no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got it, I'll take it from here.
Yeah.
I wonder, but I'm sure Secundinus demanded that you call him Secundinus. Maybe that's why he was so shitty. He was like, guys,
Yo,
you can't.
Cun.
Yeah, don't call
Yo,
me Cundi.
Secunda.
Yeah.
Secunda.
Maybe he hated his full name, and that was like another jab.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Secundinus.
Yeah, it's like, no, call me
Yeah.
shitter.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can see here.
Yeah.
Secundinus, the shitter.
Yeah, well, I
Because
need to know what he
maybe-
did to earn that name
Well,
too.
I mean, this might be the third, fourth time that I've talked about it on this podcast. But Ty, are you familiar with my childhood story of the Phantom Shitter?
I feel like, I've heard so many stories of you as a child about poo. Eating it and having it on your
There was a man that was so notorious in my hometown for taking shits, and I'll speed through it if anybody's listening that I've maybe said this too many times, but this guy was so notorious for taking shits that every
public shits?
public toilets that everybody at the hockey arena, the guys there they have horror stories of this fucking guy at the 7-Eleven, Dairy Queen bathroom, the high school, all this shit, it's like a rumor around town. So in the 7th grade, when we were going to it's the end of the year and you go to the high school and they kind of tour you around, this is where you're going to be next year.
Yeah.
So we're taking that tour. And right outside of the gymnasium, I will fucking never forget this moment. Where it's a bunch of our group or whatever was just a bunch of class clown shitty kids or whatever, right? And the guy the janitor is like wheeling his cart by, and we were getting a tour from the guy that does like PE teachers. And he was Mr. Reed, and he's like, "Oh, this is like Jerry, the janitor. If you guys have any questions for Jerry." And immediately, I don't know if it was me or one of us, were like, "Is the phantom shitter real?" And he's like, "Boys, let me tell you a story." No bullshit. This guy had
takes a swig out of a fucking flask.
He has a fucking wooden hockey stick.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
100%. His head's down, and like all of a sudden his ears perk up. Like,
what the fuck did you just say?
we don't talk about him anymore. He's got a fucking. He has a Sherwood old hockey stick shaft cut off that he basically says that he has to take like garbage bags, double wrap the garbage bags around the hockey stick shaft so that he could fucking like bust this shit up to get it down the toilet, right? Now, the phantom shitter being like just a great character of infamy in the town. Everybody wanted to know who he was. There was a lot of theories kind of floating around. Then it kind of came to light that somebody had some maybe credible, maybe not credible information that this one particular guy was the phantom shitter. Now, this guy looked the part, tall dude, big kind of fat, frumpy dude. Then he was also one of the only guys that I could buy cigarettes from this gas station. Now, I'm drunk one night, and I'm like young fucking idiot kid, and I confront him about potentially being the phantom
Before
shitter.
you get the smokes? Oh, but
dude, it was like it fucking ruined me, and then I had to go there. No, it helped me become brave and develop a relationship with the Korean community, because there was a Korean gentleman at the store downtown that he was then selling me cigarettes. So
there you go.
Shout out to that guy.
It didn't give you a weird poop complex at all. So
he didn't at all.
Yeah, it's not like this is stuck with you.
That
for a long
motherfucker
time,
was vindictive, man. Like, he took it out on me so much that he had to be the phantom shitter, right? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I think
the
like,
level of defense was like
a
way
little
too
bit,
much.
yeah,
Okay.
right. Because like Bruce Wayne would like brush it off if you'd called him Batman, because obviously, you know what I mean, a billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne isn't Batman, but this guy so fucking could be the phantom shitter. Like he just fits the bill, right? So maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong. We'll never know
buckled
for
under
sure.
the pressure, man.
We'll never know for sure, right? But is Secundinus the 300 AD version of a phantom shitter? Maybe this guy was so famous for fucking taking dumps. This guy's pinch and loaf, like.
Yeah, maybe
that people need to remember this over time, and that's why he took so much time to chisel this so deeply into the stone.
And in those Roman times, what was like the like plumbing situation?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. The Romans were masterful in the kind of sense of bringing like freshwater irrigation and all of that stuff. They still have working. I can't remember what you call them, but they're basically like elevated trough systems that stretch for miles that can bring fresh water into the city centers and stuff like that, right? They were very, very like high tech when it came to that. The problem is like they can get water into places. It's like it's getting rid of sewage and stuff, right? So like underground plumbing and like all of that kind of stuff. Like it was kind of like the start of it was happening then, but that's why heavily populated, like dense city centers and stuff like that. At that time, there was so much disease and so much of that shit. That's why there's National Thank a Plumber Day, because I mean, doctors are cool and shit, but I'm the guy that makes the poop dot in your house, and we're keeping babies safe.
It's important.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a pretty job, but I love to do it.
Yeah. Once again, it's not like it all comes back to poop. It's not like I'm
a simple man of many passions, but poop.
Your whole life revolves around it.
It really does. It really does, baby. And pretty soon, like, it's gonna fucking put some food on that table and in that belly. You love poo too.
Okay.
This is the house that poop's built. Do you like your life jacket? You take a shit and thank it.
But shout out to Secundinus. I hope I want to see Secundinus's story on the big screen. I want this to kind of spark lore surrounding Secundinus. He could have been, an ordinary man, or he could have been a big prominent figure in this town. And I just hope that we learn more about Secundinus as the remaining 3/4 of this site is
dick down.
Dick down. Yeah.
We're gonna be following this very closely.
Oh yeah. Dude, we should follow it and have a dick count.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
show me yours dick count.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm gonna
Archaeological
put
dick count.
put some Google alerts for
Yes.
the name of this site and for Secundinus.
Yeah. Word, bing. Oh, there's a dick.
We have a dick. We've got a dick.
Oh, this is gonna be awesome. Right on.
I wonder how long it takes to
Writing letters didn't want to hurry it up a little bit with the digging.
Yeah, like I don't know about like the movie, but I would
How
watch
long
this. I would
does
watch
this
3
shit
hours
take?
of a guy just carving a dick into a wall. Like, it's gonna be weird. It's an art film, but
get your fucking brushes out. But yeah.
I could find a dick a lot faster than that.
Yeah.
Jackie shows up to the site like, boys, stop fucking around. We're here to find the dicks. Like, you find like Roman gold or like actual valuable shit. She's like, get that out of here. Jackie is here to sniff out dicks.
Get on like these have these fucking big goggles on. Get a fucking leaf blower. Stand back, boys.
Big backpack.
Oh yeah, you're fucking up all kinds of like delicate archaeological remains.
Yeah.
Just looking for dicks carved into walls, and I'm here for it.
There's one.
You bring that here.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Fracture? There's a movie Fracture.
Tasting the dirt. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning of this movie Fracture, Anthony Hopkins is like a super genius, right? And he like investigates like plane crashes or something like that. And they're going to the site of the basically this like investigation, like in an airplane hangar. They have like a burned out airplane, and it looks like a bunch of people are trying to like investigate like what happened. And Anthony Hopkins, it's kind of a dumb scene. I was watching it yesterday, and I was like, okay, like this was really cool when I was a kid. Now it might have been just like a little bit played up. But he like pulls up in a Porsche and just like walks through the fucking thing, and there's like an X-ray of like the fuselage or whatever, and he just like points to it and keeps walking, and they're like, hey, don't you want to check the thing out? And he's like, nope, that's where the problem is. And he just like gets in his car and drives away. And I'm picturing you doing a similar thing when you show up to the dick site. It's like, there's a dick under here. Turn this over. There's a dick there. There's a sixth sense and there's a dick sense. And yeah, you have a sixth sense for dick sense.
Yeah. And you have a sixth sense for shit sense.
It's true. Aww.
Aw.
It's about love. But it's also about music, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Quick segue into one of my favorite records. We are going to talk about something, and I think that this conversation might actually get into like a little bit deeper, not only in like what we love about music, but why we gravitate towards certain kinds of music. This album that we're going to be talking today is a 2006 release from Chicago supergroup punk rock band The Falcon. The album is called Unicornography. It is fucking fantastic. It was released in 2006 on Red Scare Industries, which is a local Chicago record label that they put out so much good stuff, and I recommend check out all the bands on that record. But we're talking about a supergroup today, guys. And the Falcon consists of Brendan Kelly from the Lawrence Arms and Slapstick, and Brendan Kelly and the Wandering Birds on guitar and vocals, taking a break from the bass that he plays in Lawrence Arms, which is kind of cool to see. Neil Hennessy on drums and actually engineered the entire album as well. Dan Adriano on bass. Dan Adriano's famously from Alkaline Trio and also with Brendan Kelly and Slapstick. Anybody a fan of ska or like ska core punk? If anybody knows Operation Ivy is the best band that ever did ska, is just kind of what it is, right? If we're talking about like the third wave or like when punk rock kind of comes into it, Slapstick is a band from Chicago. They did it second best. Yeah, and I'd put some cash on that. But the super group kind of aspect forms because these bands, I love the punk rock community so much, right? Because there's a lot of friendship that kind of involves there and a lot of like mutual respect, right? So the lore is that Brendan Kelly is watching a member of Rise Against who played on the original 2 EPs for this band. He's watching him. Oh, sorry. Dave Haas from The Loved Ones was also in this as well. So check that out. But I think if you play so many shows with people, then like Ty, so you're a musician, right? So you play so many shows with people and you're in your own band. Is there ever like animosity, or is it just like artists making more art? Because if you see somebody that can fucking rip and you're like, oh, I want to be in a band with that guy.
What do you mean towards like other bands and stuff like that?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a healthy level of like competition
For sure.
and like it kind of like help raise it up. But
Yeah.
then like another part of it is like if you're out doing these, you're out doing the grind, similar to the fucking comedy scene where it's like
Totally.
you gravitate to the fucking people that are better than you.
Yeah.
obviously, because
Yeah.
they'll make you better.
Totally.
But there's a certain amount of like you're doing this like kind of grind together, so there is a bit of that bond, and I think that's a lot where
Sure.
these punk rock or just music
Yeah.
are built as well. It's like, man, it's like you both were in a fucking crazy fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fucking, you have
Totally.
props for the other guy. Cause like, oh, wow, they did this whole fucking, they
100%.
also played this shit night. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
Exactly.
whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's a lot of like, a lot of that. And I think punk rock's probably one of the best examples for a genre of that and being like, oh, well, let's do this and let's do that.
Yeah, because like I think there's always
Much like jazz was, I guess, back in the
Totally.
fucking day.
Yeah, but there's a lot of like different words for it. So you can call it like a super group or like a side project or whatever. But there's a reason that the guitar player from Rise Against is slipping my mind right now. That couldn't make it because they're all in like in successful bands, being like the Alkaline Trio, Lawrence Arms, The Loved Ones, and Rise Against. So. The only reason that he didn't play on this record, like, because he toured it and did the whole thing or whatever, but he just had like other shit going on. You know what I mean? Like, so you have your obligation to your own band. You know what I mean? So you have to go on tour or do whatever, right? That you don't get to kind of play on the record. But I just think it's there's something cool about it because, like, with this record in particular, I think that. Like Brendan Kelly's a fucking songwriter that like speaks to me. Like we were talking about this before. Like I'm a lyrics guy. It's like it became very clear to me on the last episode when we were talking about it. Like the stuff that I can really sink my teeth into. Like really, I'm a dummy. I need to be beaten upside the head. You know what I mean? Like here is everything that like your beliefs kind of like put out to you. You know what I mean? Which is kind of weird. Like I'm a Patton Oswalt fan, right? But if to go see him in San Francisco, you're not gonna see him take any wild swings, but like you're here for that thing, right? So with the thing about this album is that the Lawrence Arms, they're a fantastic band. And I think that they get the respect that they do now, rightfully so. But I think like the first like couple releases or whatever aren't gonna really be anything like groundbreaking or remarkable.
I think the same because we say about Alkaline Trio as well.
For sure.
Yeah,
Dude,
they kind of
for
got
sure.
put into this like poppy punk sort of situation or like vibe. I don't know. Just like people just didn't feel it. What I remember.
Totally.
At first.
And Alkaline Trio is a song called Radio that if you pass me your guitar right now, it's one of the like the first ditties that I learned on a guitar, and it's something that I still know now. And just because like I heard it live and there's like a great live performance of it, but that band doesn't really have anything for me that really speaks out, like to me or whatever, right? Not to be said with like the Lawrence Arms, and they're kind of like a Dillinger it's like Workaday, Chicago punk rock, you know what I mean? Like I'm like any blue collar kind of shit like that. Like really speaks
What
to
is
me.
it about Chicago?
I have no idea, man.
It's
I just
dope.
fucking get it, right? Because I'm a
It's
Yeah.
just fucking dope.
Right?
There's
Yeah.
so much dope shit.
yeah, man.
So much,
that
yeah,
comes
so
out of
much cool
Chicago,
shit going on
And there
there.
always
Yeah.
has been dope shit that's come out of Chicago.
Yeah.
I would go in a
Yeah.
fucking heartbeat, right? And like
It's
just
so
the
many
history
different
there,
genres
too.
of art.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
crime and stuff too. Like I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of history and stuff, so like
Yeah.
Al Capone tunnels and all that kind of crazy shit
There's
that's going on
bad
there and
motherfuckers
stuff.
out of
And they're like
Chicago.
so
100%.
passionate about like even like sports, like such a big sports
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, the
you
home of
know?
your
They're
beloved
so-
Bears.
Today, man.
Yeah, man, fuck
Fucking
yeah.
down today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's weird because I think like it doesn't get the Los Angeles or the New York kind of like glitz and glamour, you know what I mean, like the Hollywood thing, or like if you could in New York, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
Like Chicago is like there's something about it that's like a blue collar town, you know what I mean, that just stands on its own. And like I think Detroit in a similar way too, there's something that comes out
but
of
they
there
don't
that
feel
has like an
as spoken
attitude.
out as like someone from
Yeah.
Boston or something like that.
Totally.
So they're a little more like
Yeah.
like knows like I'll just fucking work really hard. Like I just
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
hardworking vibe from that town. I don't
Yeah,
know.
totally.
No, it's a
But
really good
but
fucking way to
yeah,
say
it's
it,
like,
yeah.
but Boston, I think, is a good comparison
Yeah.
too. You know, but yeah, and I think they do kind of have that reputation of being like, you know, one of like the bigger cities, but they kind of like are in the shadow of like New York. You know, like everything is kind of overshadowed, but they do have like such a thriving, so many thriving art scenes.
I think
there,
like a
so,
lot to
yeah.
be proud of too. Like I
Yeah.
think like you could kind of see where like
And
you know, like
food,
where Chicago
too.
comes
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Drag it through the garden. In the sense of like the hard work, and I think like that speaks a lot to the timing of this record. This record was made in 2006, recorded in like December. The Lawrence Arms put out "Oh Calcutta," which in my opinion is their like their best, but it's hard to say because I think they're a band that just kind of progressively keeps getting better. So like I'm not going to say the best, but it's like the defining moment for that band. And I think, which is kind of weird because you have Brendan Kelly does the vocals on Falcon record. Definitely like a lot of like kind of like got like a little more screamy and scratchy and stuff. And this album is really cool because with the Lawrence Arms you get like a little break from that with their guitar player Chris McCaughan comes in with a lot more like kind of softer vocals, and they both take songwriting and turns kind of the way that they structure their albums are fucking great because you get like, you know, heavy light, you know what I mean? It's a really good roller coaster. With the Falcon here you don't get that, and I think that it's perfect, right? Because like if you want like the harder side of the Lawrence Arms, it's like that band's little brother, but the work ethic for these guys to put out their best record and then immediately go into the studio and keep doing this. And this was like over the course of like a few years. I think some of like the best work that they've done has kind of come out of it. And it's shit that, you know, I found when I'm like a kid and like, you know, liking like NoFX and Bad Religion or whatever, that was like my shit. And I was always kind of new about this stuff. But like, as I get older and like the more toilets that you install and like the more, you know, blah, 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 right? Like, it's so weird how this stuff is like settling in and being like, for me, like the definitive like sound of what I want to hear if I'm listening to like any kind of like rock and roll or punk or something like that, you know, which is, which speaks like a lot to it. But another thing too with the lyrical aspect, there's like a sense of like sarcasm and dread, I think, with everything, like we're gonna be working here forever, so kind of fuck it, or like you know, there's like a melancholy attitude towards life that I fucking really identify with, that might make me like get a little bit ahead of myself or like want to stay at this wild party that we were at last night when fucking it was time to go. You know what I mean? Right? But there's a lot of like I told her when we were getting there, I was like, babe, there's gonna be a point where I'm gonna want to stay. Like, I fucking know this is gonna happen. I called it, and I did, right? But I kind of get that. And there's like a lot of the music that I listen to does kind of have this like, fuck it, we only have 2 days off, let's have as much fun as we can kind of like attitude or whatever, right? Because like the grind is what it's gonna be, right? And there's something about like a blue collar ethic to music that I gravitate towards. But not only that, it's lyrics, right? So when we got here and we were talking about this before the show, like, Ty, you being a musician is like, and you said that that's never been a thing for you, or not like a make or break, like to you know, thing that you need to enjoy music.
Yeah, like lyrics have never been I'm not like full Zappa about it, of like they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
But like I would rather just be like, it would fit.
Yeah.
At least that's how I write music.
Totally.
I'm just like, oh, like I always just think it's weird to be like, oh, I'm writing this deep shit, like whatever. So I'm like, oh, I'll just play it off like it's whatever.
Yeah,
but
like starting with lyrics. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Really?
like
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
Oh god, no.
Yeah.
No, that scares me.
Yes.
I look at
That's
it. I look at it
yeah.
as an instrument, like as a different instrument, opposed to like saying something. Not to be like, you know, like I had my. I was really into like punk bands and other bands that are a little more, like lyric, I guess, kind of bass. But for the most part, no, I'm like, if it's aiding to like the music, that's really all I care about. Unless it's like some fucking crazy like race. It's like, this racist song is really melodic. I'm like, no, we're good.
Yeah. Kind of just get stuck in your head.
Ty, what are all these Screwdriver CDs?
Yeah. Does Kelly sing on all the albums?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like the definitely the primary vocalist. And I think like kind of has become like a punk rock legend in the sense of with his with the lyrical ability and the voice, and it's just so perfect for the genre. Right?
I think it's probably a thing that like, and I enjoy bands that also. It depends how you look at it. Some people would say they suffer from it.
Yep.
Some bands, or some would say it makes this band fucking dope.
Totally.
And it's like, if you don't like Brandon Kelly's voice, you're probably not gonna fuck with this band.
100%.
Right?
100%.
But if you don't like Brian Johnson's voice, you're probably not gonna fuck with AC/DC. If you don't like, are into compare it in more of a punk rock way, if you don't like Eugene Hoot's voice, you're not gonna fuck with Gogo Bordello.
100%.
You know what I mean? And there's something, I like it because it's like when it's super like folksy,
Yeah.
which is like great. And I feel like this album was cool because they touched on because they're all coming from these different, like, yes, still punk bands, but different kind of punk bands.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like it does a little touch on like every little kind of aspect. I was like, oh, that's fucking like that's super dope. How it does it, and his voice is good. It's like it's dope. It gives me a sort of like I got like sometimes I'd feel like, oh, this feels like a social distortion song.
Yeah,
for something.
totally.
And then like other times it's like, oh, this feels like a little almost propaganda-ish song. Or
they
something
can
like
do.
that.
I think like when like the cool thing about this like this project is that I think their all of their individual bands are so Rise Against is fucking Rise Against, right? And they're not gonna make an Alkaline Trio song. An Alkaline Trio is not gonna, I mean, they're also kind of in their box, which I mean, for better or worse, like for me, I like it because like if I want meat and potatoes, I know exactly where to go to get it, and like that's what those bands kind of do. But with this record, then you have the you get the freedom to fuck around, right? With the opening song of this is just kind of taking a shit on like dick beating motherfuckers, like you want a piece of me, you want a piece of me, and then it goes into like a weenie kind of like, do you know you're my motherfucking, and then there's like there's some slow jam kind of vibes on this album too, for sure, and that shit couldn't exist or like wouldn't exist, on a lot of these other records, right? So
which is great because it's like they touch on all of these things, but because you have Brandon Kelly's voice, that's what really just like kind of ties this whole record together. It's like it doesn't feel like you're listening to like a bunch of different shit where it's like you listen to a Ween album, you're like, why is Gene singing like in this accent again?
100%.
Like, whatever, like,
totally.
it's fucking great, it's dope, but it's like I like a little more cohesive like throughout the whole thing.
And it all
definitely does.
flows together, and I think his voice makes it like more accessible too, because I'm like kind of the same way with you with lyrics, or maybe like somewhere more in the middle where it's like lyrics are never what gets me into a song. I can't even like it takes me quite a few listens before I even know what the lyrics are, like they don't jump out at me, right away. How many times have we just been
like drunk and like listening to music and I'm like, babe, did you hear that? And you're like not paying attention, you know what I mean?
Well, it's not that I'm not paying attention, but it's that I don't listen. It's not the lyrics, they don't jump out at me. It's like if I like the way the song sounds, if that sticks with me, then I'll listen to it more, and then I'll want to know what the lyrics are, so I'll usually like look them up, and then I can hear them. But then I think it also has to be like, for me to care about the lyrics, I have to like enjoy like kind of the sound of someone's voice, because that kind of makes me want to know what they're saying or whatever. And I think with Brendan Kelly, like when like listening like you showing me like punk music throughout the years, I think he was kind of like one of the first ones that I was like, oh, I can actually like connect with this. And this album too, like listening to it throughout the years, I think it's like very like melodic, even though it can be like there's like a lot of like
track,
screaming
like
and stuff, but it still is like it still has like something I can like kind of hold on to that makes it like enjoyable to listen to.
Oh yeah, that makes me very happy. I think that when you're writing songs, for any listener, I think like for me, I really gravitate towards some shit that's like, oh, this guy's got some shit that he's got to get off his chest or whatever, right? But then when you're doing it too in a way like it's the tongue-in-cheek kind of like sarcasm stuff, like with this, like Little Triggers, is like so clearly substance abuse or whatever, right? But it's also like flirting with it too, like how do you do, or whatever, right? And like, even on the newest Lawrence Arms record, they have there's that fucking song like I'm so tired and you're tired too, and I want to make big changes but I'm not in the mood, you know what I mean? Like I fucking resonate with that shit so much, you know what I mean? That's kind of like the reason that I come back for it, right? When we were talking to Adrian last week, there was a point where he was talking about the last song on the Master Ace record, and I started getting goosebumps about it, right? Because he's literally talking about, you know what I mean, right? It's like summing up the guy's whole career or whatever, right? And I'm starting to think like, if there was no music behind it, I could take, you know what I mean, like that message, or like, you know what I mean, that voice, like, kind of with it on its own, right? So I think that kind of translates to the way that, like, I've always owned a guitar and I've always fucked around with it, but like in my head I don't have like the maybe like the attention span or whatever to like kind of play something all the way through. And I think also because I've never really like played with anybody or whatever, right? So like it's like, there's a muscle there that I don't really have, rather than I just kind of take it off the wall and fuck with it. You know what I mean? So it's like a weird way that, like, I don't know, everybody kind of like consumes something a little bit differently,
Yeah. And it's like still lyrics are still like important to me, and they're like, they'll resonate with me, but it's not the first thing that I hear when I listen to
I don't want to be
music.
like a totally just negate everything. It's like no, there's obviously fucking there's like, oh, that's some fucking good shit.
Yeah,
I like the way that's put
exactly.
together. I mean, I just grew up listening to hip hop. So I was like, yeah, it's lyrically fucking bad.
Yeah.
But like even then, like the way you're the same way you'll point out maybe some lyrical shit, I'll be like, oh, that drum fucking
100%.
And
that's why I love this podcast. That's why I love talking about it, because like it opens my ears to some shit that I wouldn't listen to, or and it opens my stuff that I wouldn't listen for. You know what I mean? Right? There's like you know, when there's like a little like doo-doo or like a little twang in the back or something, or on this record specifically, a lot of like it's weird to have like acoustic kind of background, like overlays, you know what I mean, in a punk song. Like there's a lot of that shit that's kind of like, oh, that's
it's
a
this
little
folky
bit
punk though.
Yeah.
It's very like I said, it's that's why I use that Bordello thing, because I was like, oh, it's close sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Right, and like the Lazy Boy
like
500, like that fucking song has like it's the lead is a and like the solo, I think,
but it's still so tight.
Yeah.
Like a punk record, it's so tight. Like it's like the stops and everything are just like it's very crisp.
Totally.
Which is like super super cool and a really good recorded. Like I didn't know that you said the drummer engineered this. Yeah. It sounds sick. Like it's super,
very cool.
So I think sometimes with punk, it's so hard to capture the live thing, but it's like
really,
this was great. Yeah.
And I think that like you can kind of see like the friendship aspect of it, as this was recorded like through Red Scare Industries, that like they're all friends of, and at Matt Skiba's recording studios, the guitar player for Alkaline Trio, now Blink-182 as well. You know, so like they really could just kind of go into a friend's studio and fuck around, it feels like, and that's
dope because you have everybody there, and then people just play on your shit.
Exactly, right.
And it's
and
very
like,
Blue
Neil
Note
Hennessy
style.
is a fucking
like,
fantastic drummer. We all fucking like chant Hennessy and shit like that, like at the like at shows and stuff like that. And he'll get up and he plays leads on 2 of the songs and stuff. His brother comes in and plays. I think Chris McCoggan from Lawrence Arms comes in and plays some stuff.
Yeah,
so,
that's
you can
dope.
tell that everybody, you know what I mean. It's more of I don't know. There's like a community kind of feel about it too, right?
Yeah.
Which is you get something a little bit different than you know, than your average.
Yeah, and I think kind of like thinking about like what you were saying, like using kind of like lyrics as like an instrument. I think that's maybe why like harmonies are like more kind of stick with me more, or like make more of an impact, and like and not to always bring it back to the Chili Peppers, but I think that's why like I love like just like realizing in my head now, that's why like I love like John's harmonies so much, and those are the things that like give me goosebumps. It's because you get like the personal feeling of it being someone's voice, but it's being used as like an instrument, and it is like kind of, you know, overlay like on top of everything else, and just kind of adding to the whole soundscape.
I did put it in my notes. It's like, 2006. Danny California also came out.
Black Bandana, Sweet Louisiana.
Also,
Stadium
Sexy
Arcadium.
Back came back. Sexy came back in 2006. And then, I don't know if you guys remember this jam, Stars Are Blind by Paris Hilton.
Oh yeah.
Even that was
the stars are blind.
That is so fucking awesome.
I'll show you mine.
The third song on this is the Celebutard fucking whatever. Baby, don't you want to throw it up now? That is about Paris Hilton.
Perfect.
Fucking way to come around. Shit, at 56 minutes too, I can fucking end right there.
Oh yeah,
that's fucking fantastic.
But I think also the extreme of using like voices as an instrument is the episode we're going to be recording after this, and that's when it goes too far.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very excited to talk about this record today. So like that was fucking fantastic. I'm glad you guys seem to enjoy it. It was fucking really cool. For anybody that needs to or that feels the need to dive a little bit deeper, Brendan Kelly and the Wandering Birds, for a little bit more folksy kind of stuff and more punk rock, definitely go for the Lawrence Arms and Slapstick, because everybody needs ska in their life. Have some fun. Alkaline Trio, if that's your thing. The Loved Ones is great. Dave Haas as well. Rise Against, you know what I mean? The amalgamation of talent and shit that kind of comes together. It only happens once every like 10 years. They did another album called Gather Up the Chaps in 2016.
Okay, dope.
And, and that's also very good.
Because Lawrence and Arms, they're still doing the damn thing, right?
Fucking, they just, in my opinion, the Skeleton Coast came out in 2021 is the best pandemic record that I heard over the course. Yeah, right. It's fucking awesome. I'll lend it to you. And I think that you might really dig it too, especially with Chris McCoggan on the lighter side. You can really see the transition from like hard to soft. if Dillinger 4 made more fucking records, they would be my favorite band. But I think like the Lawrence Arms takes the
Isn't it weird that that's like a like best pandemic record? That's just like a thing.
Yeah,
that's super
best
weird.
pandemic special.
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
But like, I mean, yeah, at the time when we were all kind of locked down and everything was a little bit iffy and shit like that, that record came out, and you know what I mean. I get really excited when like the album art is there. You know what I mean? Like every piece of it is perfect, and my favorite thing to do is listen to jams and read through the liner notes and stuff like that, and like really kind of like sink into the song and get with lyrics and stuff. And this is a great band and a great artist to do that with. So
and shout out to Secundus.
Yeah,
fucking keeping it real, Secundus the shitter.
Secundo.